Bitcoin has shot up over 50% since the turn of the year. In today's video, we're going to have a look at some price predictions, what is going to happen with the halving coming up here in April. There is plenty to get through in today's video. Welcome back everyone to the channel. Now in today's video we're going to have a look at Bitcoin. It has been one of the best performers of the year, having had one hell of a pullback in the year 2022, 2023. It has recovered remarkably well and I'm not surprised by the recovery. We've seen lows of about $15,000 and if you had the cojones to be buying at those levels, you will have been handsomely rewarded. It's worth noting the history of Bitcoin and I've pre-prepared this video for you. Without getting into the whole how Bitcoin is mined, let me just tell you, it was programmed and developed with only a limited supply of 21 million coins. There'll never be any more than that. Now that might seem like a huge quantity of Bitcoin, especially when you consider that it's only been around for the last few years, isn't that right? Wrong. It has been around since the financial crash in 2008 and was created in 2009, which is 12 some years ago. So that is a long time, guys, although a lot of people only think Bitcoin has sort of came to the surface over the last few years. Now the whole 21 million coins were not released at one time. It has been phased out over time and every 4 years the amount that is released is halved. But in saying that, it's not just released in one batch, it is then phased out over the 4 years. With the most recent halving happening just last year in 2020, meaning that the next halving will happen in 2024, meaning that the final Bitcoin will be mined in and around the year 2140. I will be long dead and buried by then. First halving happened in 2012, which sent Bitcoin from around $12 to nearly 1,150 within the year. The second halving occurred in July 2016. The price halving was about 650 and Bitcoin surged to nearly $20,000. The third and most recent halving happened in May 2020. It became a catalyst of the recent surge to just under 50,000. So 2024, guys, load up. So you can see from that video that there is a history of a bear market and then a rally up to halving. Now there isn't a huge historical trend with Bitcoin, so it can obviously be open to interpretation, or as I like to say, FUD, fear, uncertainty and doubt. JP Morgan and Chase have put out this article only 3 days ago. Bitcoin could slide to $42,000 after halving hype subsides. There has been so much FUD around Bitcoin since its inception, and there's a lot of different agendas. Without getting into the whole political landscape of what Bitcoin could be used for and what it shouldn't be used for, let's just focus on the facts. This is a digital currency. This is the most established, and in my opinion, this is the best in class. So the question at a high level you've got to ask yourself, is there a place for cryptocurrency? If the answer is yes, then with that, Bitcoin will be leading the way. And I assume if you're watching this video, you're interested in cryptocurrency, so the answer being no is highly unlikely. I have been invested in Bitcoin on and off for about 4 years now. When we were at previous historic high levels, I did find that everybody was talking about Bitcoin. I'm going to be watching for signs like that. Now the media coverage is starting to come up again, but the general person on the street isn't talking about Bitcoin, which would tell me that there is still plenty more in this current cycle to come. So I haven't talked about the history, let's talk about what's coming up. We have the halving happening in April 22. So as of the time of recording, which is the 3rd of March, there is significant amount of time left for the buy the rumor, sell the story to play out. That is why I believe at these levels above about $60,000 at the time of recording, I believe that there is potential upside, and we will look at the charts in a moment. But let's just have a look at an article from Coinpedia to sort of have a look at some of the likely price predictions we will see. And when I targeted Bitcoin at the start of the year in my previous video to say that this is the one you got to be invested in, we've been putting it into the Discord, talking about it a lot. The cryptocurrency scene, especially Bitcoin, is getting a lot of excitement, and I do invest in other cryptocurrencies, especially Ethereum, but this video is just focused on Bitcoin. Without a shadow of a doubt, I believe we will see 100k, and that's been my target since. So I've been taking advantage of the dips, buying, holding, all of that, and I've been trading it over the last few months as well. While nothing is a guarantee, I feel in this current market, Bitcoin actually is probably one of the safest places for me to be putting my money. So the key thing is here, we're talking about institutional investors. This is something that's changed since the previous halving. We've now got an ETF, and an ETF is an exchange traded fund. That means Joe Blogs, the regular person, can get huge exposure to Bitcoin. That is something that's been created because there's clearly a demand for it, and it has had one of the biggest uptakes for any ETF that we have ever seen. 2 billion in trading volume of the 9 Bitcoin ETFs, and over 240 million withdrew. That is incredible. And at the time of this article, we hadn't even reached 60,000. We have already hit over 64,000. So the market capitalization is now over 1 trillion. They see the Fibonacci giving us a clear run up to about $68,000. That is one way of being able to price predict, because we really won't have any prehistorical trends to follow. So there's no support, there's no resistance. This is purely based on likelihoods. But we're not going to look into their technical analysis because I'll provide mine at the end of this video. Let's have a look at what they see as the price prediction for 2022 right through to 2030. They've done a low, average and high. So the low of 2025, bear in mind this is 2024, is 61,000. They are suggesting that the low point will be what the current price is now, which is just sort of a safeguard. They reckon the average price could be 95 right up to 140,000. So at the time of recording, you could over double your money between now and 2025. It gets more exciting in 2026 with the average being 82 right up to 155,000. And you can see here, every year it goes on a bit more, it gets a bit more. With 2030, which is what my opinion a long haul should be, 10 years, and that's why I'll be in these things for at least 10 years, you're looking at a potential high of 347,000. That is outstanding, with a low of 277,000. Either way, it's hard to see Bitcoin losing value and losing credibility. Again, I bring it back to the question, do you see a place for cryptocurrency? If you do, then Bitcoin is going to be leading that front. And if you look at these figures put into a graph form, you can see the trend. It is only upwards. Now, one thing that hasn't been perhaps talked about within this is the bear side. The next bear run will come on Bitcoin and it'll be ferocious. We've seen that. It didn't act as an asset. It didn't do what gold would do. It didn't become a safe haven during a bear market. So market fluctuations in the S&P and the global economic environment will massively impact Bitcoin, and that is something that no one can foresee, but we're pretty safe to say what impact it will have. So just like anything, do your due diligence, understand what you're investing in, and be confident to buy dips. There's also the government situation with Fed coin and then moving to a digital currency. How will that landscape change things? Personally speaking, I think the more we move away from paper money, actual physical coin, I do actually believe then that will only improve Bitcoin's performance, because there will always be those people that don't want to have their money in the banks, don't want to trust the government, don't want to deal with their transactions, will always want an alternative. And then if there's no paper physical money that can be stored under the mattress, as they say, then it would make logical sense to me that people would move towards cryptocurrency. And again, with Bitcoin being the leading class, the most established, the fact that other chains are built on it, to me Bitcoin would still be the one that people would pick. And there is an argument for Ethereum and all that, but again, just focusing on Bitcoin. And just to finish off then, Coinpedia's prediction is a low of 35, a potential average of 77.5, and a potential high of 120,000. Now we're going to look at my price predictions, and I think it's very important to have a look at this first. The market has went through this bear run. It has had it. It was brutal. We remember it. We lived it. Now we're looking towards the future. And for me, it is having a healthy cool off after the ETF has been launched. The ETF being launched shows that there is absolutely plenty of investors, plenty of people thinking that this has got room to run. And I truly expect it to run this year. Bitcoin will halve in April. That is going to be huge, and that will, as is showing now, there's not a huge trend, but anytime that it has halved before, it has always rallied. So for me, I'm taking a full advantage of the Bitcoin rally. Now, while these little squiggly lines I drew look to be a bit of a guesstimate, and they were, to be fair, they have played out remarkably well. I said we would get this sort of sideways cool off period, almost to build up support, let things cool off, and then we would rally on, and that has been the case. Now, that video was done on the 21st of January, which was the low, and now we have seen it pump 56%. So that is the reality of it. Technical analysis works. Understanding all this can make you significantly richer. It can make you make better choices, and if you are interested, of course, in learning any of this, use the code BHS40 to get 40% off the trading course. It is down below, but I don't want this to be a promo video. I want to talk about what I think will come. We are bouncing off these support levels, and I envisage the same thing kind of happening again. We'll probably just kind of go up and down, and then we'll take off again. That is what I feel will happen. And if we actually take a look out here, we can see we're massively overbought. Now, usually when you're massively overbought would mean a pullback's coming, but you can see here around these levels
we were massively overbought, and what did? We shot on. So we look at other indications now. The other indication would be the MACD. The MACD was a lot lower at these levels than what it is now. We're back up at this crazy level. I would not be surprised if we did pull back some, and like I said, did this cool off. That would be, to me, definitely the more probable outcome, but I wouldn't be also surprised if we even seen a further pullback to, say, to these lower levels. But see, in the short term, whatever Bitcoin does, it's really irrelevant to me, because I believe that there's only upside here. You can kind of see around these levels where we're likely to go. That's sort of 68, 69. We should tie into obviously what was said in the article that we read. Then you're looking at 70, 82. But I do take these things with a pinch of salt. I would rather focus on the actual indications that are more tried and tested, such as the MACD, RSI. So I'm basing it, looking at this in the cold light of day, and I'm seeing the potential for sideways / cool off more probable than continually for this to push on. However, the momentum is there. We know what's coming. Fundamentally, it's probably the strongest place Bitcoin could be, with the ETFs just published and then the halving coming. So when you consider all these things, the long story summarize is I wouldn't want to be out of Bitcoin. Put it that way. It's okay to trade, of course, always good to trade, but know where you're taking your profits, because this is going to explode, whether it be in the next couple of weeks or the next couple of months. I truly expect that to happen. And since January, since 2021, we have been on the money when it comes to Bitcoin. If you're interested in more videos like this, please like and subscribe. The course is down below, the Discord's down below. Take it or leave it. It's entirely up to you. Just always do your own due diligence and trade safe. And if you're interested in watching the rest of the video that I showed at the start of this, you can check it out here. It'll explain exactly when the last Bitcoin will be mined. Peace.